When you spend your attention looking at others, you slowly lose sight of your own path. Life becomes heavier, not because it is difficult, but because your mind is scattered everywhere, except where it should be, within yourself. Every person you compare yourself to becomes a distraction. Every judgment you make about others becomes a weight on your own shoulders. Stopping comparison with others is one of the most powerful decisions a person can make for their mental peace and personal growth. In today's world, where everything is visible through social media, people constantly see highlights of others' lives. They see success stories, achievements, luxury, confidence, and perfection displayed in small moments. Without realizing it, the mind starts measuring its own life against these carefully selected moments. This comparison slowly becomes a habit, and that habit turns into pressure. A person begins to feel that they are behind, not good enough, or not progressing at the same speed as everyone else. What they fail to understand is that they are comparing their behind-the-scenes life with someone else's highlight reel. Every individual has a completely different journey, different timing, different struggles, different strengths, and different opportunities. When you compare yourself to others, you ignore this truth. You forget that what you see is not the full picture. Someone might look successful, but you do not see their failures, their sacrifices, or the time they spend struggling in silence. Similarly, when you feel low about your own life, you are ignoring your own progress, your own effort, and your own unseen battles. Comparison removes balance from your thinking. It creates either false superiority or unnecessary inferiority, and both are harmful for growth. When a person is trapped in comparison, their attention shifts outward. Instead of working on themselves, they start observing others. Instead of improving their own skills, they start analyzing someone else's life. This leads to wasted energy and lost focus. The mind becomes busy judging, reacting, and overthinking. Slowly, confidence starts to weaken because it is no longer based on self-awareness, but on external standards that keep changing. There will always be someone faster, richer, smarter, or more successful in some way. If you base your worth on comparison, you will never find stability. Stopping comparison does not mean ignoring inspiration. It means understanding the difference between inspiration and comparison. Inspiration pushes you forward and tells you that improvement is possible. Comparison pulls you down and tells you that you are not enough. One expands your mind, the other limits it. When you see someone doing well, instead of feeling small, you can choose to learn from their discipline, their habits, or their mindset. This shifts your focus from jealousy to growth. It transforms external success into internal motivation. The real shift happens when you start focusing on your own timeline. Your life is not supposed to match anyone else's. You are not late, and you are not early. You are exactly where your actions have brought you. When you accept this, your mind becomes lighter. You stop rushing unnecessarily. You stop feeling pressure from imaginary deadlines created by observing others. Instead, you begin to move with clarity, understanding that progress is not about speed, but about direction and consistency. As comparison reduces, self-awareness increases. You start noticing your own improvements that you previously ignored. Small wins begin to feel meaningful. You start recognizing your strengths instead of focusing only on what you lack. Your energy becomes more stable because it is no longer scattered between multiple lives. It stays within your own path, allowing you to build something real and lasting without distraction or emotional disturbance. Focusing on your own growth and progress means turning your attention inward and measuring life through personal development rather than external validation. It is a shift from watching others to observing yourself. When a person begins to focus on their own growth, they stop living a reactive life and start living a purposeful one. Instead of being influenced by every situation, opinion, or comparison, they begin to move with direction and intention. This mindset creates stability in a world that is constantly changing. Personal growth is not something that happens overnight. It is a slow process built through small, consistent actions. Every decision you make, every habit you build, and every thought you allow yourself to believe contributes to your progress. When you focus on yourself, you start to understand that real change does not come from sudden motivation, but from repeated effort. Even the smallest improvement, when done consistently, becomes powerful over time. Reading a few pages, practicing discipline, managing your time better, or learning from mistakes may seem small in the moment, but they shape the direction of your entire life. Many people lose focus because they constantly look outside for validation or distraction. They measure their success based on what others are doing instead of what they are becoming. This creates confusion because external standards are always changing. What seems successful today may not feel enough tomorrow. But when you focus on your own progress, you create your own standard. You begin to define success based on how much better you are today compared to yesterday. This internal measurement is stable and meaningful because it is based on your own journey. Focusing on your growth also requires honesty with yourself. It means accepting where you are without denial or excuses. It means recognizing your weaknesses without judgment and your strengths without pride. This balance is important because growth cannot happen in confusion. When you are honest with yourself, you can clearly see what needs improvement. You stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility for your actions. This responsibility is not a burden. It is a source of power because it gives you control over your direction. Another important part of focusing on personal progress is patience. Growth takes time, and impatience often leads people to quit too early. When results are not immediate, many people lose motivation and return to old habits. But when you truly focus on yourself, you understand that progress is not always visible. Sometimes you are growing internally, even when nothing seems to be changing externally. Your mindset is becoming stronger, your discipline is improving, and your understanding is deepening, even if the outside world has not yet caught up with your efforts. This focus also reduces unnecessary stress. When you are not constantly comparing yourself or worrying about external approval, your mind becomes calmer. You start to enjoy your own journey instead of feeling pressured by others' timelines. Life becomes less about competition and more about improvement. You stop trying to prove yourself and start trying to build yourself. This creates a sense of inner peace because your energy is directed towards something meaningful and controllable. As attention stays on personal growth, clarity increases. Decisions become easier because you are guided by your own goals rather than external noise. You begin to understand what truly matters to you and what does not. Distractions lose their power because your focus is stronger than your environment. Slowly, this consistent focus shapes not just your actions but your identity, turning effort into character and discipline into lifestyle. Learning from your past mistakes is one of the most important steps in personal growth. Yet it is also one of the most ignored. Many people either run away from their mistakes or repeat them without reflection. But every mistake carries a lesson, and every failure holds information about what needs to change. When you focus on yourself, you start to see mistakes not as something to hide from, but as something to understand. This shift in thinking transforms failure from a weakness into a teacher. The past is not meant to trap you, it is meant to guide you. Every decision you made before, whether good or bad, has contributed to who you are today. When you ignore your past mistakes, you miss the opportunity to grow. But when you observe them carefully, you begin to notice patterns in your behavior. You see where your thinking was unclear, where your emotions took control, or where you lacked discipline. These insights are powerful because they show you exactly what needs improvement. Many people carry guilt or regret from their mistakes, and this emotional weight often prevents them from moving forward. They replay situations in their mind, wishing they had acted differently. While reflection is important, constant regret is not productive. It keeps the mind stuck in a cycle of self-judgment instead of self-improvement. Focusing on yourself means breaking this cycle. It means accepting that the mistake happened, understanding why it happened, and deciding not to repeat it. Every mistake has a root cause. Sometimes it is impatience, sometimes it is lack of knowledge, and sometimes it is emotional decision-making. When you begin to analyze your mistakes honestly, you start to understand your own weaknesses more clearly. This understanding is not meant to make you feel small, but to make you more aware. Awareness is the first step toward change. Without awareness, there can be no improvement. Learning from mistakes also requires courage. It is easier to ignore them or blame